Your Majesty, Queen of the Belgians, Special Representative of the Secretary General for Children and Armed Conflict, my dear friend Virginia, distinguished guests, dear friends. I would like to begin my remarks by commending the work of my dear friend Virginia Gamba. Virginia, thank you for your tireless commitment to reach out to those children and young people across the world who, through their short life experience, have suffered and are suffering a lot. Your inspiring leadership is important more than ever before, as the world and our children face new and more complex challenges due to violent conflict and increasing social tensions. As stated by UNICEF, and this is another statistic to add to Her Majesty's, in June 2018, around 30 million children have been displaced by conflict. They need protection now and sustainable solutions over the long term. Such a statement should be more than enough to galvanize the international community into immediate and effective action. 30 million children isolated and stranded from necessary support is unacceptable. We all know that children on the move are extremely vulnerable and need adapted, context-specific protection in countries of origin, transit, and of destination. We all know that while in transit, and especially in camps, children should have access to services such as education, health, and psychosocial assistance to help them reclaim their childhood. I still remember some years ago when I visited a refugee camp where the refugees there shared with me that they, even many a time, they also have scarcity of food, moreover about other services. And we know that it is important to ensure that children are not left without access to education for extended periods of time, as this will make it more difficult to reintegrate them in their original or new community. States and the international community have an obligation to protect and reintegrate these children by providing the necessary services. This is why there is such a desperate need for investment in child protection and reintegration. I believe that the successful protection and reintegration of children must be part of a holistic approach which aims to implement long-lasting peace and the socio-economic regeneration of every society that has experienced, have been, or is being affected by violent conflict. Another alarming statistic, according to the latest data from UNICEF, is that nearly 1 child in 4 is living in countries presently affected by conflict or disaster. Definitely, it is urgent to provide effective solutions. These children represent the present, and even more so the future of the countries and regions that they had to flee from. Without adequate response from the international community, we will never reach our objective of preventing violations against children. We must all redouble our efforts to ensure effective and adequate protection mechanisms, including reintegration services for all displaced children. States and the international community cannot continue to be complacent and fail to provide enough for effective child protection and reintegration. States have the clear responsibility enshrined in the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child to promote the rights and protect the fundamental dignity of each and every child. Never had there been a convention as the CRC that has been so widely approved and committed to. Therefore, I would like to commend Virginia, the Special Representative of the Secretary General, for proposing the placement of child protection advisors in areas of conflict. These child protection advisors will be ideal interlocutors between authorities and armed groups. They will also monitor and document the abuse suffered by children and advocate for their protection. I augur that today's event and the launch of a roadmap towards implementing a reintegration fund for children alongside the Coalition for Reintegration, will provide the much-needed impetus to put a spotlight on children in violent conflict. The educational, psychological, healthcare, and emotional needs of the child must be addressed through an approach that respects the participation and the integrity of the child, by creating safe spaces adapted to the child's needs. This is how we can hope that each and every child can find the necessary healing. In this process, special attention must also be given to unaccompanied migrant and asylum-seeking children. In this context, it is essential to also promote and provide for family reunifications. States and the international community should regard this process as an investment in the future of our human family. I am pleased to note that this important investment is also highlighted in the United Nations Youth Strategy, which identifies children as positive agents of change. Children who have experienced armed conflict have a unique contribution to make to ensure positive change within our world and help to develop a culture of sustainable peace. I also believe that children are the primary stakeholders to achieve the mandate of Agenda 2030 and its 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Therefore, I take the opportunity to call on the United Nations entities, member states, private sector collaborators, and civil society activists to rise to this challenge, to prioritize the protection and the reintegration of children who have experienced and are experiencing armed conflict, and to promote the dignity and well-being of each and every child. Each and every child has the right to a dignified childhood. Thank you.